Peace. What's going on, family? How's everybody doing out there this evening? I am your host, Minister Jew, and we're going to get into the topic of discussion, that being Will Smith, Chris Rock, Jada Pinkett Smith, and the whole Oscars ordeal. Now, I want to preface this conversation by saying this. This is going to be a different type of conversation tonight. This is not the typical narratives, think pieces, this is not that. In fact, whenever I'm speaking on anything, it's seldom ever that. I'm always speaking from a place of wisdom and understanding about the mind, about consciousness, about manifestation. I have an opinion, as everyone else does, about the brother Will Smith and what he did, and Chris Rock's response, and all of the entanglement between Jada and Will that has been publicly displayed. But I think you guys have probably read enough of that today, last night, last year. And so people are going to be set in their opinions about that. Nevertheless, I think that this type of conversation that I'm about to present is heavily needed, because it tends to deal more with cause. And when I say cause, a lot of times people may get that confused. A lot of times we confuse the world of effects, or the world of what we conceive to be actions that a person takes, as the world of causes. So many times it's not. I was having a conversation with my mom. She called me late last night about this. That's how I found out. My mom called me. And she was like, he said something that during his speech that I always hear you talk about, about life imitating art. And so that's the angle that I want to come from, fam, right? So shout out to everybody in the chat. King Dave, hey Monica, I see you. Wow, Magi 11, Asadula Strong, Pisces Illustrations, Trio Cast, TM Brad, Washita Wellness Center. Peace to everybody that's in the chat. I see y'all over there. If you're new to my channel, I go by the name of Minister Jew. For the people who this may be your first time catching me out here on these YouTube streets. And I appreciate you guys coming over to support and have a listening ear for what it is that I have to share. So if you like the content as we're moving through the video, obviously get the likes up, subscribe, tell a friend, share the links, comment, all that type of stuff. Darwin, what's good, man? I see you over there, man. Peace to the chat. So let me see. I want to share my screen. Oh, wait a minute. Before I do that, let me see. Let me do it this way. All right. All right. So I just want to know, can y'all see my screen out there? Somebody in the chat, give me some feedback. Give me some feedback. Let me know if y'all can see my screen and if y'all can hear me out there. Okay. So y'all can, okay, cool. So that's what's up. Everybody can see the screen. Everybody can hear me out there. That's what's happening. Peace T and Kiwanis, that's y'all in there. What's going on, man? Hey, y'all got a hell of a story to tell, man. But much love to y'all, man, the newlyweds. Shout out to Kiwanis and T, they're two of my members. They got a wonderful testimonial that they just shared with us. If you're interested, you can scroll through my YouTube channel. You'll see Kiwanis's, it's about a 10, 11 minute video if you're interested in watching that. But I want to get into this bill tonight, right? And I'm teaching, man. I'm going to be teaching tonight. So I just want y'all to be patient. I want to kind of take my time and go through this thing. So here's the quote, right? Here's the quote. Oh, let me put this here just in case I have to see somebody. All right. So here's the quote. This is part of the speech that Will gave last night at the Oscar Awards after the whole situation transpired with him and Chris Rock, right? He says, art imitates life. I look like the crazy father, just like they said about Richard Williams. But love will make you do crazy things, right? My emphasis here in this entire quote, all of it is important. Some people may have a difference of opinion of his version of what love is, and that's neither here nor there. But primarily the first part of this quote, art imitates life, and I look like the crazy father, right? That being Richard Williams. He further went on to say in that acceptance speech that he felt like he had to be a protector for his family, similar to how Richard Williams was a protector to his daughters, his family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, as we move through this, I don't want to appear like I'm giving Will an excuse, right? I don't want it to come off in that light. But what I do want people to understand is the power of our minds. And once we upload certain programming, whether it be intentionally done or whether it be from outside sources, once we upload information into our mainframe, boy, oh boy, is it hard to override it. It is damn near impossible to do. It takes a lot of heavy mental lifting to reclassify data once it's been stored. And so you're going to find out why tonight. So I want to jump right into this thing, because my premise tonight is this. Will Smith placed himself under his own suggestion. Under his own suggestion to act out as this quote unquote protector. And he basically verbalized it in his speech that I feel like I'm mirroring, and that word is going to become very important. I'm mirroring the actions of somebody else or a quote unquote character that I played, which just so happens to be the character that I'm receiving my first Oscar for. So what happens, Jew? What happens, Minister Jew, in a person's psychology, right? Because I don't want, this ain't no philosophy for me. I always got to say this to be clear. Damn it. We're going to talk about some neuroscience tonight. And we're going to talk about a little spirituality too. But we're going to blend this thing perfectly so that you can see exactly what's happening here. So I'm going to give y'all some what Penny would say anecdotal, and then I'm going to give y'all the actual factuals behind this thing. So here's Michael B. Jordan. Everybody knows the role that he played, Killmonger, right, in Black Panther. You know what he told Oprah when he played that role? He said he was so tuned into that role, the aggressive nature of Killmonger, his yearning to be accepted, his yearning to be loved by his people, but rejected and or shut out, caused him to experience the same psychological underpinnings of Killmonger, so much to the point that people who he loved or people who loved him, he was shutting them out of his life. It got so bad that he had to go to therapy. He literally had to go to therapy to come from up under the persona of Killmonger. So y'all might think it's a game. You might think, they're professional actors. It's just an acting job. Man, let me tell you, and I've said this before. I put it in my first book, Imagination at Work. It's available on Amazon if you're interested. Minister Jew, Imagination at Work. I showed the people that the brain has a very hard time differentiating between what's imagined versus what's real. Now, that can be your best ally or your worst goddamn enemy. It depends on how you use it. And as I stated earlier, once the program is uploaded, it becomes very difficult for you to disengage whatever the program is that you uploaded. Right? And so there's a verse in scripture that speaks to this, and it's in Deuteronomy. It's one of my favorite passages. It says, I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. And there is none that can deliver out of my hands. So they're trying to show to you in this allegory, this perfectly phrased quote, what you think God is a neutral force that can either operate good or operate bad. But either way you decide to choose to use the operating force, once you choose either side, there's nothing you can do to deliver yourself from it. This is a law of consciousness. This is a law of mind. So Michael B. Jordan's the first example. Who remembers this famous movie? I do. When I was a kid growing up. It was one of my favorite movies. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Bob Hoskins, excuse me. What happened to Bob? He got so entrenched into this role. Now, these roles are a little different because he has to practice talking to quote unquote fictional characters who are not present, right? Who he has to engage with on the scene. Could you imagine that? There's a camera rolling in front of you and you're talking like Roger Rabbit's next to you or Bugs Bunny's next to you, but there's nobody really standing there. All the facial expressions, all the mannerisms of how you must move. Huh? Do you know what happened to Bob Hoskins? He got so used to talking to these characters who weren't there that his mind started to form hallucinations, and he was projecting these characters out into his physical environment as though they were literally there. It got so bad that after Who Framed Roger Rabbit was over, he went to a therapist and the therapist told him, you can't do any more movies for at least another year. Drop everything. So I just want to show you to the extent of quote unquote acting and what Will Smith said about, I feel like I'm Richard King. I feel like the protector that I played in the movie. But we're going to keep going. Bill Skarsgard. Everybody knows Pennywise. Huh? Everybody knows Pennywise. So let me tell you what happened with him in his role. He got so entrenched in his role, because remember, Pennywise would transform into whatever your fear was. Pennywise would transform into it. Let me tell you what Bill Skarsgard said about this role. When he came out of the film shoot, when the movie was all over, he said, the problem wasn't me letting go of the character. He said, the problem was the character wouldn't let go of me. Huh? What did he mean? He said the character of Pennywise would show up in his dreams every night and haunt him in his sleep. See, let me tell you something about this Neptune thing. Let me tell you something about. See, Neptune is illusions. Neptune is deceptions. Neptune is delusion. But Neptune is also imagination. And so the neuroscience is very specific. Hallucination and imagination are operating in the same part of the brain, the limbic system, but on two different sides of the brain. One is happening in the left hemisphere primarily. The other one is happening in the right hemisphere primarily. So there's a difference between imagination and hallucination. However, Neptune is encapsulating all of these variables of this phenomenon. So, and Neptune is dreams. So boy, oh boy, you start to take over these roles. How do you fight a ghost? How do you fight something that's not appearing to be physical, yet it is impacting your body and your mind in a way where it's having very significant, real impact? Fellas, y'all know what it's called. It's called a wet dream. When you a young lad and you're going through puberty and you got all these pictures of these beautiful women in your dreams and you wake up in the morning and your pants wet. Huh? See, you can always find traces of how consciousness works on a mental plane through what we see in nature. There's a passage in scripture, I believe it's in Romans, that talks about that. So it says, and I'm paraphrasing, we are able to know the mysteries of the Godhead by the things which do appear. So therefore, there is no excuse, is how the passage is read. Huh? Another example. Colin Firth, the King's Speech. Well, he played King George. In this particular movie, King George, they made him have a speech impediment, right? Do you know Colin Firth got so entrenched into that role that 8 months after the movie was done out in the movie theaters, he could not regain his proper speech back without stuttering? He would be in interviews and occasionally would stutter and refer back to the role that he just played. Now, it's more neuroscience on this that talks about how when you merge the imagination with the physical act, the binding factor is what I'll call it. The neural connections become even stronger. Right? So let's continue to read, Jew. Continue to read. In one paper published in Royal Society Open Science, a team led by Stephen Brown at Macmaster University in Ontario recruited 15 young Canadian actors trained in the Stanislavski approach and scanned their brains while the actors assumed the role of either Romeo or Juliet, depending on their sex. The actors spent some time getting into character for the balcony scene, and then while they lay in the scanner, so they got these machines hooked up to them to see what's going on in their brain, the researchers presented them with a series of personal questions, such as, would you go to a party you were not invited to? And would you tell your parents if you fell in love? The actors' task was to improvise their responses covertly in their heads. while embodying their fictional character. The researchers then looked at the actors' brain activity while they were enrolled, as compared with other scanning sessions in which they answered similar questions either as themselves or on the behalf of someone they knew well, a friend or a relative, in which case they were taken to a third-person perspective, covertly responding to he, she, would, do, etc. Crucially, being enrolled as Romeo or Juliet was associated with distinct patterns of activity not seen in other conditions, even though they too involve thinking and intentions and emotions and or talking or taking perspectives of as another. Let's continue to read. In particular, acting was associated with the, now listen to this. Acting was associated with the strongest deactivations in regions in the front and midline of the brain that are involving in thinking about oneself. So what does that mean? How are we comprehending this data? When we begin to act or take on the role of somebody else, certain regions in the brain become deactivated that specifically deal with the sense of self, that I know I am Minister Jew. That part of the brain starts to become deactivated. This might suggest that acting as a neurocognitive phenomenon is a suppression of self-processing. Another result was that acting was associated with less deactivation of a region called the precuneus, located further to the rear of the brain. Typically, activity in this area is reduced by focused attention. And the researchers speculated that perhaps the raised activity in the precuneus while acting was related to the split resources required to embody an acting role, the double consciousness that acting theorists talk about. So I'm having to be this while still trying to be conscientious that I am. In fact, if anything, these new brain scan findings, for the first time, that neuroimaging has been used to study acting, suggest that the process of losing the self occurs rather easily. My members know this. All my members in the chat, y'all know this. We talk about this role playing quite often on our calls. There was a fourth condition in the study in which the actors were simply asked to respond as themselves, but with a British accent. They were explicitly instructed not to assume the identity of a British person, yet merely imitating a British accent led to a pattern of brain activity similar to that for acting. Even when a character is not being explicitly portrayed, gestural changes through personal mimicry can be a first step toward the embodiment of a character in the retraction of the cell's resources. Ooh. See, man, this is why sometimes I be having to refrain from commenting on people's stuff. Because I know they just don't know. They're ignorant to how they're made. Everybody's got a floating opinion, a fleeting commentary. They just don't know. And so, the commentary be way off base, but they're doing the best that they can based upon the information that they have available to them. But see, scripture tells you that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Well, damn it, you need to find out how you're made before you go running your mouth. Find out how you're made. Because then you will see, man, what am I acting out as? Who am I? Right? So I was watching this video today. Shannon Sharpe, one of my favorite personalities. He keeps me laughing. Sports commentator. Him, along with a gentleman named Skip Bayless. Very popular show called Undisputed. And I watched this show today because this situation made it to every damn news platform. It crossed over into sports, into music, into every platform that you can think of, right? So on this particular episode, Skip Bayless, after Shannon goes into his rant about what he thought about Will, Skip Bayless said something interesting. He said, well, I want to view this from a different perspective. He said, Shannon, what if Will Smith was still in character via the role that he played as Richard Williams in the movie King Richard? That's the question that he posed to Shannon Sharpe today. Now, see, I know Skip is an undercover wizard. He can't fool you. A wizard spots another wizard, right? And so Skip be spelling all the time. In fact, he coined the term Russell Westbrook for the NBA ball player Russell Westbrook, point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers this year. And Skip Bayless does a masterful job spelling. When I say spelling, I mean casting fortunes. Huh? He said every time Russell Westbrook has a bad play, Skip runs a whole video showing all the Russell Westbrook bloopers. He calls them Russell Westbrook. Let me tell you something. When you see Russell Westbrook play, he doesn't even look like a professional anymore. He airballs, missing the whole rim layups. Shooting the ball off the side of the backboard. And I've seen Skip do this with other people. Be spelling his little tail off. But see, when you make insights like that, and you say, I want to look at it from a different perspective. What if he was still in character? Oh, you understand psychology, Skip. A person that doesn't understand that wouldn't even bring that up. It's like, huh? What? What do you mean? The average Joe Blow would be like, man, that's some bull jive. Right? But so let me show you what happens. Will Smith did what? He went up there and said, I feel like I'm basically still acting out as King Richard. Studies show that when we are in the presence or exposed to emotion, our brains co-create simulations of these same emotions in our brain and take on similar traits of the other person's emotion. Do you understand what that means? Will Smith is practicing for over a year King Richard. I showed you how these other actors, how deep it goes, taking on the mindset of the person who you're portraying. They said when Jamie was playing Ray for the first 2 weeks on set, he was having anxiety attacks. Listen, you have to know how you're made, ladies and gentlemen. You have to be very careful. So Wilden took on the emotional temperament of who, ladies and gentlemen? King Richard. Where was this at, Jew? Mass presentations of emotional facial expressions, modulate amygdala activity without explicit knowledge. Where? The Journal of Neuroscience, 1998, for those that like to do the fact checking. Huh? Implications. What happens when these mirror neurons come online? You start to do what? Perform the action. Because you did what? You witnessed the action. Because you did what? You heard the action. Mirror neurons enable what? Empathy. And a vicarious experience. Oh man, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. Even if I tried. Right? So let's read some more. This was a think piece that actually delved into the neuroscience behind this whole Chris Rock, Will Smith demonstration. So when Will Smith perceived Chris Rock's joke as a threat to his wife's emotional well-being, it is not a surprise that he did what he did. His amygdala temporarily, hijacked his cognitive system. And for whatever reason, his prefrontal cortex was not able to override his automatic behavioral response in real time. And if he had been drinking that night, it makes it even worse. Right? Interestingly, the video reveals that at first, Smith was laughing at Rock's joke. Now I want to clarify this, and I want to speak on this real fast. Will got up there and said, in this business, we have to basically always put on an act. We have to let people disrespect us, disrespect our families, say all kind of rude, inappropriate things, and we're supposed to take the high road and just keep it moving. Right? He specified that in his speech, right? So a lot of people were saying, well, man, he was laughing prior to him going off. Let me tell y'all something. Could it possibly be Will had the mask on even then? And then when he looked over at his wife, regardless of how y'all may feel about Jada and all their personal situation, whether they got an open relationship, I don't give a damn about that. That ain't what I'm here to talk about. The man clearly has a sweet spot for Jada. That's obvious, right? So define love how you will in your own terms, how you feel it, whether it's dysfunctional, functional, that's how you want to define it. But obviously that's what they have going on, right? And so when he looks over at her, because he's taking it all in, like, yeah, I'm gonna wear the mask, but could underneath all that sniggling and giggling, he probably was feeling the same way. You asshole. And in the moment he looked over at her and he realized she wasn't even attempt to put the front face on, that's when he was like, all right, okay, I ain't got to fake the funk either. Baby ain't faking the funk. I ain't got to fake the funk then, right? So it says, interestingly, right, the video reveals that at first Smith was laughing at Rock's joke. So it is likely that Smith's amygdala was triggered later when he saw his wife's sad and upset expression. Who knows how she has been dealing with the emotional toll that alopecia takes on a person, especially for a woman of her ilk. Not making any exceptions because she's a famous person, but just a woman in general, man. A woman who's been touted as a beautiful woman her whole career, all of a sudden her hair falls out. Like, boy, that's a big deal, right? So what does it say here? This likely activated his mirror neuron system. Damn it, didn't I just talk about that? Didn't I just show you didn't I just show you right here? Didn't I just show you right here? Right? Which in turn produces feelings of empathy. At the same time, I can understand why Smith did what he did and can see myself responding similarly under similar conditions and regretting my actions similarly. This was not the first time that the Smiths has been a target of Rock's Oscar roasting. And they go on to tell about the story in 2016 where he made the reference to Rihanna's panties. I'm sure all of you guys have seen that video. In addition to amygdala hijack, the Smiths might have been anticipating an attack from Rock at an unconscious level. So in a sense, Will might have been primed for such an event. Priming refers to when exposure to one stimulus influences a response to a subsequent stimulus without conscious guidance or intent. I'm gonna tell you what they're basically saying here. It's called auto-suggestion. Similarly, Rock's cool-headed response may also be a sign that at some level, he was anticipating the possibility of some explosive reaction from one of the two Smiths. Now, let me build on this right quick, because this is important. I mention this all the time. There was a case study done, I think it was the University of Stanford, where they took these black high school sophomores, right? And in this study, they told them that they were about to take these cognitive tests to see where they measured up as sophomores in their class at Stanford. While they were talking to this group, and they were black sophomores, specifically did the test on black sophomores at Stanford. And while they were introducing what the test was for, they were using certain primer words that connected the black sophomores back to their days coming up in whatever urban community, city community, where these certain words triggered ideas of blacks aren't good at math, blacks lack in comprehension, all of these primers that help trigger those type of thoughts. Do you know what happened? The black sophomores that got hit with these primers or suggestions all scored lower than their Asian counterparts, than their white counterparts. But guess what? The other group of black sophomores that didn't get hit with the primers all scored evenly or higher than their Asian counterparts or their white counterparts. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you understand what I just said, you would come away with the conclusion that a fact didn't become a fact until after a suggestion was made. Let me tell you something. The news is a mother. But Jay Electronica said in one of his records, you lose. Quit believing in the news. See, it ain't nothing but suggestions flying. And you don't know what's true or what's not, especially in today's age. And so these people are sending suggestions and primers left and right. And it's becoming more difficult to differentiate between what's true and what's false. They're blurring the lines. The lines are blurred, which makes it very easy to condition people, which is why I tell people, man, look, the best thing you could do is to have your own program running and keep these other programs at bay. Right? So Will Smith apologizes to Chris Rock, and he said it. I reacted emotionally. Question is, whose set of emotions were you acting or reacting out of? Whose sets of emotions? Huh? Because see, remember, and let me tell you something, man. Let me listen. Logic and reason isn't a given, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. But boy, emotion is there whether you like it or not. It's there. It's in the deepest part of your being. See, that emotion from that amygdala, that caudate nucleus, all them little structures down in there, gotta make its way up to that prefrontal cortex, man. It sends a message, and that prefrontal cortex acts as a buffer, like, all right, Will, look, this ain't in your best interest. I know you feeling that empathy from your wife, man. I know you probably been many nights she been crying about that, and y'all been through it, and they been dragging you through the mud, but look, Will, don't do it. Boy, it wasn't enough. He ain't have enough of that. That amygdala hijack, that limbic brain overload, said, look, we're going to act off of our survival instinct today, buddy. See, so, you know, a lot of time, and a lot of times our emotional states gets us in a lot of trouble, but you can learn how to use your emotional states to propel you to success as well. Just like you can use a lot of the negative emotions, anger, fear, jealousy, resentment, will send you in a downward spiral. Joy, gratitude, happiness can send you in an upward spiral. Right? Right? So, whose set of neurons was Will Smith actually viewing that situation from? Well, he verbally communicated out of his mouth. But let's go further, Jew. See, they gave themselves their own primers. And boy, I don't want to get too deep on this call tonight, but boy, let me tell you, boy, light is everywhere. Light is in the future, light is in the present, light is in the past. Light is simultaneously at every single state of being that you can think of. It's already, that's why the Christ tell you, I go and prepare a place for you. So that where I may go, I can come back and take you with me. What the hell are you talking about? What do you mean you're going to go and prepare a place? Where? In the future? So go prepare it there. Why? Because the material is already there for you to create. It's called light. So, boy, you could put yourself in a jammy by what you say out your mouth. So before, and shout out to Coley Cole, she sent me this last night. Will Smith, via his Instagram, said, got all dressed up. Me and Jada got all dressed up to choose chaos. Ooh, ooh, you sure did. You sure did. Right? Now I can show y'all this on a level that'll blow your mind. Several examples. I've been at this for a long time studying this phenomenon. But I'm going to read something to you from scripture though. This is Isaiah 48:3. I declared the former things long ago, and they went forth from my mouth, and I proclaimed them. And then suddenly I acted, and they came to pass. So the things that I said out of my mouth, I made a declarative statement, I proclaimed something, and then all of a sudden, I acted the thing out. It happened just the way that I said it. In today's culture, we call it, I spoke it into existence. I wrote an entire book about this phenomenon. So yeah, Will, you wrote it. You said it. And then you allowed your viewers, your followers, to help you collapse away. See, man, let me tell you something about this quantum thing. Whatever has to happen will happen. Everything will get moved, the deck will get reshuffled, and your cards will land precisely the way that they need to land in order for the event horizon to occur right before your eyes. Huh? Right? So he played King Richard. Mirror neurons going. Right? Now, see, a lot of people went and did this. This is for my astrological community. And a lot of y'all that's new here, you might say, damn, he's a minister, he's quoting the Bible, but then he's talking about stars. Well, it's a lot of wisdom to be gained. And I don't want to scare nobody off, but I just want you to ask yourself this question. Because I want to ask yourself this question before I go here. They say that 3 wise men found baby Jesus, right? 3 wise men. I got it down here. I might show y'all in a minute. It's over here on my bookshelf. Go get you a Strong's Concordance. It'll help you translate every single word in scripture, both Old Testament, New Testament. When you translate the wise men in the New Testament, you know what the translation reads? Oriental astrologers. So they got to ask yourself a question. Within the confines of the text, if these things are solely forbidden, and I know why they tell the people, listen, man, it's levels to this priesthood thing. It's levels, man. And so I appreciate how they insert these levels and you realize what's for you and what's not as you get to a certain level of understanding, man. But these wise men were astrologers who followed a star to find a quote unquote baby Jesus somewhere. But I thought it was bogus. I thought it couldn't render any results. Another example. Jonah thought he was going to run away from his purpose when he was told to go to Nineveh to reveal the prophecy that if they didn't repent, Nineveh was about to get hit. Oh, Jonah tried to run. He tried to get on a boat. He tried to evade his purpose. Didn't work. But what did they do? The fishermen on the boat, when the boat got to rocking, they said they cast shells to see who was responsible. And when they cast the shells landed on Jonah. But I thought divination was bogus. Yet, they're showing you in these different passages where these things are being used and the answers are coming out to be right and exact. So I just want to lay that on you because what I'm really trying to get y'all to understand is two things can be true at the same time. And that's where you have to have wisdom to understand why it's like that. So a lot of people probably went and pulled up wheel chart. That's okay. That's fine. But I want to show you something. Because we talking stars, we talking heavens, right? I want to read y'all something from John 3:27. It says, John answered and said, a man can receive nothing except it be given him from heaven. Now, whoop, 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 whoop. You may be thinking, heaven is a place somewhere, pearly gates, golden streets. Okay, that's fine. I'm not here to bash anybody. I just want to give you another perspective. See, when you translate the word heaven in scripture, it means Uranus. Uh-oh. Don't we got a planet out there? Now you got to ask yourself, well, what is the mythology or the allegory on Uranus, Minister Jew? And boy, the riddle of the quantum mechanic thing becomes very alive. See, because one of the key words for Uranus is the weirdo. But don't get offended when people call you weird. Because weird translates to mean one who controls his own destiny. There's no separation from you and the cosmos. You're entangled. So we always hear as above, so below. But boy, let me tell you, as within, so without. Not only do you have mirror neurons in your brain, you have a cosmos that is mirroring what you're uploading. And boy, oh boy, when these things get in these locations and the mirror is reflecting exactly the indicators that you are uploading in your software, oh man, there's none that can deliver out of my hands. It's coming, buddy. Huh? So man, so when you understand how these bodies are moving, even if you don't understand how consciousness works, you may not fully understand that you are a quantum being. Okay, I can still measure and observe these objective things because man loves objectivity. He can look at it and say, I can measure that. That's fine, I ain't got no problem with it. But that ain't the end all be all. In fact, that's the baby. The objective world is the baby. The mama and dada is subjective. It's inner. Okay? Right? And you learn that when you start to study this phenomenon of quantum mechanics. So I didn't go look at Will's chart. You know who I went to look at? Richards. Because I know Will is mirroring Richard. So when I went and pulled it up, oh boy. For my practitioners, we know Mars is what? Violence, anger, fights, burns. I'm sure Chris Rock's face burned. It definitely was some violence. It definitely was a fight. It definitely was an argument. Mars is in the region of space right now that we know as Aquarius. But look what it is conjuncting over there. Mercury, the prankster, the jokester, the one that thinks everything's fun and games. Chris Rock. Once you understand what these symbols represent, you see the symbols playing out in front of you according to the expression of the planetary body. Some aggression towards, we'll say, a potential funny guy, a jokester, a prankster. Huh? Mars is also conjunct the moon. But guess what else was happening? A moon return, a lunar return. What is the moon, ladies and gentlemen? How we emote, how we feel, that empathy that I showed y'all earlier. Huh? The moon also represents family. Huh? Huh? What did Will Smith? I'm here to protect and be a river to my family. But see, Mars is the warrior. Huh? So I'm looking at Will Smith through the energy of King Richard. Now, if you're paying attention, you could pick up some high-level priesthood game here. This stuff me and Ampu talk about in private. We don't even talk about this type of stuff publicly. This type of formula. But what was going on? 90-degree angle from Mars to Mars. Oh, that's a problem. It's definitely going to be some combat. It's definitely going to be some fighting. With all of these elements wrapped in there together. Man, listen. Get with some credible people who know what they're doing. I always say this. I don't care how intellectual they sound. I don't care how charismatic they are. And it's difficult for me to say that because I know what happens. You know when you're around charismatic people, you got a little structure in your brain that's a beat, like the bull S reader. When you're around charismatic people, that structure gets turned off. And so sometimes it's real hard to see through somebody who's charismatic. So it's easier said than done. But let me tell y'all how you judge this thing. Look at the fruit. Somebody say they a guru. Somebody say they a master teacher. Somebody say they a spiritual coach, a life coach. Let me tell you something. look no further than what they've helped other people produce from their quote unquote teachings. If it's all self-absorbed and it's, oh, this is what I did. This is something that I discovered. This is something that I found out. Man, let me tell you something. These people are ego tripping people who want to be that. And I understand there may be an aspiration. But boy, get with some people that actually, the rubber meets the road and some results follow behind what they are saying, man. And just not their word for it. Show me the money. Where's the people at, man? Where they at? I got a bunch of them in my chat right now. But look, man, Will Smith was in character. And my main takeaway from this tonight, because I don't know Will Smith personally. I don't know none of those people personally. And I don't know a lot of y'all personally. But y'all are in the range of my voice. Y'all are at least attentive to what I'm saying. And so my message to y'all is this. Learn how to use this information to better your life. Because as problematic, as intense, as unfortunate as that situation was last night, these same principles can be applied in the opposite direction to create beauty, to create peace, to create tranquility, to create success. Do you understand? And these are the principles that I teach. Got a whole membership on it, right? If somebody maybe ask, well, Drew, how can we find you? In the description box below on this video, there's a link to my Instagram. The reason I put that link there tonight is because my website is actually going through some updates. We just started on it yesterday. Hopefully they'll be done with it tomorrow. But my website, for those that want to know, is theimaginationguru.com. Right? If you try to go there now, it's not going to be up. Hopefully they have everything together in the morning. But it's theimaginationguru.com. The link to follow me below on Instagram is there. And you can get some more of this inspiring content and some more lessons from some of the stuff that I've talked about tonight. But man, this is what we do. Myself and my brother Ampu. Right? So hopefully this gave y'all a broader perspective, more insights into how these things transpire, how we need to be very careful of the information that we're uploading, the character that we're playing, the persona that we're taking on. Because boy, oh boy, it's strong. And you will act out according to how you envision yourself, how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself. And it can be good, it can be bad, or it can be like last night, ugly. Right? And so this is the webinar that I got coming up this Sunday. Your Vision and Purpose webinar. Take control of your life now. In this webinar, man, you're going to learn how to make your vision a concrete reality, strategies to overcome hindrances, to your vision, and learn how to see further than your eyes can see, to envision in a vision. So check back on the website tomorrow, periodically through the week if you're interested. When it's back up, I'll go back and edit this video and drop the link in the description box below. So if you want to just come back to my page and check this video tomorrow or the day after in the description box, the link will be there if you're interested in joining me for this online webinar this Sunday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going in, man. People got to know, man, what's your purpose, man? Work from your purpose. And I'm going to be going into these bullet points and more on how you can realize that, man. That's what I'm doing. I'm realizing my potential. People know my story. They've heard it multiple times. You know what I mean? But this is my purpose. My purpose is to teach this way. My purpose is to help people realize, come to a self-realization that God is within them. That what they consider God to be is essentially in their own being. and how to use that power and that wisdom of God to benefit yourselves, but also to show you the consequences of its misuse. That is my purpose. That is why I've been sent in this world at this particular time to do. You know? So yeah, man. Let me see here, Drew. Let me minimize this. And we're gonna go StreamYard. We're gonna go. All right. Can y'all see me out there? I'm back on the regular screen. Can y'all see me? Can y'all see me and hear me out there? Hopefully y'all can. So yeah, man, that's what I wanted to come to do tonight. I wanted to come and share that perspective for you guys. You know what I mean? And look, go get my new book, Hip Hop Laws of Attraction. Can we really speak it into existence? A closer look at hip hop's most prophetic lyrics. Classic, forward written by the legendary artist, the DOC of the NWA. I was privately coaching the DOC for 18 months. Helped him get through some things. And in return, he blessed me by writing the forward and sharing his brief experience of what he went through. The DOC got a hell of a story, man. You know, but yeah, man. So yeah, man. So if you like the content, man, like, subscribe. You can always donate via Cash App. Cash App is Imagination Guru. We are a 501c3, so your donations, you can write them off. You know, if you're feeling like giving, that's cool too, man. But outside of that, somebody said, are you offering private coaching? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was just at a event yesterday on the west side of Chicago. A dear friend of mine invited me out to speak at her event. And she talked about some of the private coaching that helped her get to where she's at. The young lady whose business that she did her event at, she wants me to help coach her. So absolutely. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Indigo Earth Angel 8888 enjoyed the book. I appreciate that. The book is available on Amazon. You just go over there, Minister Jew, Hip Hop Laws of Attraction, and you'll see this book populate over there, and they'll get it out to you in a couple days. So yeah, man. Anybody got any questions? Anybody got any questions or anything y'all want to share tonight? It's an open platform. I ain't gonna hold y'all too long. I know y'all got other things to do. I know people's attention spans are short, you know. Gwen, what's going on? I see y'all. Cheyenne, I see you. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Everybody in the chat. But yeah, man. So that's it. I ain't gonna hold y'all. This is what I do. You know, subscribe to my channel. All that good stuff, man. All the good stuff, you know. And I hope this inspires somebody to want to continue to learn more about how they're made. Continue to understand the power of their minds. You know. Absolutely. There go Coley Cole. Love the reminder of viewers collapsing the chaos wave. Absolutely, Coley Cole. Absolutely. You know. And so Dope Chick says, how much of an energetic exchange occurs when mirroring takes place? Man, it could be 100% transfer. Insert Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. Y'all ever seen them videos where Kobe do the exact same thing Mike do? On the exact same spot on the floor? The exact same mannerisms? See, Ephesians tells you what, ladies and gentlemen? Be imitators of God. Right? What does that mean, man? They're talking about mirror neurons right there. Me personally, like, it's some greats that came before me. Proctor, Bob Proctor, who just passed, right? Reverend Ike, Goddard, all of these people. But what I've done is I've what they call a cross-pollination, right? Where I've borrowed from all the greats. But there was one thing that all the greats didn't have, because they all came at a time before this type of science was in the forefront or the mainstream of merging with spirituality, is quantum mechanics. So I said, damn, Jew, I understand this quantum thing. The spiritual thing is really saying the same thing and vice versa that the quantum thing is saying. I can marry these two things and make my message even stronger and more ammunition and gain more people to get a firm understanding, because now not only is it quote unquote just spirituality, we got some stone cold hardcore science that is definitely pointing in that direction. You see? So yeah, man, add on, add value, right? Find out what your purpose is. What do you do well? What comes to you easily? What feels like when you're doing it, you're not working? A lot of people are having a hard time prospering because they're copycatting things that they really don't have a desire or a real passion to pursue. It's just like, oh, that makes a lot of money, let me do that. And then you get in and you're like, man, it's not working for me. Because that's really not your purpose. That's not your gift. Right? And so you need to find that. You need to find it, and you need to start to build a platform from that. And the prosperity and the success and the ventures will flow. The valve will be released. Why? Because you're living in your purpose. Right? Gwen says, how should you utilize the energy of a character? Well, you take on the traits that you would like to see in your life. You take on the traits of the character that you would like to see in your life. And you imagine you participating in the same life that that character may have done. They showed this in the movie The Joker. He was role playing all the people that was coming on that comedy late night show. He would keep rehearsing it over and over and over again in his living room. And boy, oh boy, did he act it out in real life when his time came. Right? So, yeah, man, follow me on Instagram at The Imagination Guru. Visit the website, The Imagination Guru. It should be up tomorrow. I'll make sure I drop the link in the description box when it's up. That way, if you're interested in either joining the membership or participating in this webinar this Sunday, the link will be there for you to participate. Outside of that, man, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm full of gratitude. Appreciate all of y'all coming and checking me out on my channel. And with that, I'm going to say peace.